made it. A college football game will be played every Saturday from this point, the final Saturday in August, all the way to the middle of January. Welcome back to hour number 2 of College Football Today on the season premiere of the 2022 College Football Campaign. Thank you for joining us live right here all across the Sports Grid Network. Alongside Joe Lisi and Kevin Walsh, I am Ben Stevens. Lisi, it starts in just under 2 hours' time. The 2022 campaign with the Hilltoppers of Western Kentucky taking on Austin Peay. But it will go all the way into the wee early morning hours here on the East Coast, out in the Hawaiian Islands between Hawaii and Vanderbilt. So, Lisi, I ask you, how many hours of sleep you plan on getting on this Saturday evening?
About 3, Ben. This is what it's all about. Might not be the sexiest card on the weekend, but it whets the palate for week number 1 next weekend, Labor Day. This is a good slate of action. I'm going to get about 3 hours sleep. I'm going to watch it straight through 3 a.m. on the East Coast, the Vandy-Hawaii game. So this is what it's all about.
I know all 3 of these guys right here will be awake at 1:30 a.m. Eastern time, fully tuned in to the closing seconds of Vandy and Hawaii. The Commodores, a 9.5-point favorite. Joe Lisi and I, maybe Kevin Walsh, by the end of this program, will all be on the over of Vanderbilt's win total of 2.5 for this upcoming 2022 season. Vandy will be nowhere near any of the rankings you will see this season. The college football playoff poll, when that comes out in the middle of November, nor in the preseason polls, the coaches' rankings, or the AP top 25. I do not think that Vanderbilt will crack my poll, Ben's top 10 for the 2022 college football season. The first and only preseason rankings we will have. I'm going to run through my top 10 starting at the top. The team that I believe will win a national championship, and thus I have them ranked number 1 in the country, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Ohio State is number 1 in my poll, although Alabama is number 1 in both the coaches and the AP top 25. It is the 15th consecutive season that Nick Saban and the Tide have been ranked number 1 in the country at least 1 week in the college football campaign. But I have Ohio State 1. Then Alabama at number 2. The reigning national championship winners, the Georgia Bulldogs, at number 3. Clemson rounds out my top 4, which is the same top 4 as both the coaches and the AP poll. But here's where I wanted to get a little spicy. I'm a very big believer in the Utah Utes this year. We'll get to predictions later on in this show, but Utah checks in at number 5 of my top 10. Texas A&M is number 6. Notre Dame down to number 7, despite the fact the Fighting Irish, number 5 in the country, both the coaches and AP poll. Oklahoma is 8. NC State is number 9. And then, against my better judgment, USC is 10th in the country. Kevin Walsh, are you happy I have the Trojans at number 10?
Look, here's the deal. Ben's top 10 gets unveiled. First order business, where's Notre Dame? They're at 7. All right, we can move on from that. He puts USC in the top 10. It's as if he was pandering to me. I have to appreciate it. But I still do have a question. Where is Michigan? Listen, I have to tell you right now, this group last year goes out and is the best offensive line in the country and basically brings the whole thing back. I understand that there's a lot of coordinator displacement with this football program, but I still really believe that the Wolverines have so much juice to them, Ben. And I'll make sure this radio audience gets nice and tidy in the mix here on a Saturday. It's college football today. I'm Kevin Walsh, joined by Ben Stevens and Joe Lisi. But I got to tell you, Joe, I don't know what your takeaway from Ben's top 10 was, but for me, I was surprised to not see Michigan in there.
Well, are you wearing your Lululemon khaki pants just like Jim Harbaugh? Are you kidding
I actually
me?
am. You can't see him. I look great.
Overall record this year. UConn, Hawaii, Colorado State in terms of out of conference. I mean, they have a 454 winning percentage of their combined opponents this year. That they should be 9-3, Kev. I agree with you, but they're not going to get to 10 wins because they'll lose to Penn State. They'll probably lose to Ohio State, so I can't put Michigan in there. But how about a team, and I talked about it all year, I mean, a team that I'm high on that I think could be a top 10 team is UCLA and Chip Kelly, 8-4 overall. We're giving the love to USC. Let's not forget UCLA knocked out USC last year by 20-plus points. I think they're the team to beat in the Pac-12. If they go 10-2 or 11-1, they're going to be in the top 10. They do face Utah in the Rose Bowl October 1st. They could be 5-0 in that matchup. This is a game that they lost to Utah last year by 20 points, but DTR didn't play. Keep an eye out for UCLA, guys.
Michigan minus 145 to the over, heavily juiced of their win total at 9.5. The schedule is ridiculously easy. In Ann Arbor, I will no longer be Big Ten Ben. It will be Big Ten Kev, because I'm taking the under with plus money of Michigan's win total at 9.5. I think the Wolverines are an 8-win football team. Why, you ask? Well, Jim Harbaugh doesn't want to be the head coach of Michigan anymore. He wants to be the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, but he didn't get a job offer. And then his offensive coordinator, Josh Gaddis, was going to take the reins in Ann Arbor. He was so spurned by the situation of Harbaugh just coming back, he's now the offensive coordinator for Miami. And then Mike McDonald, the orchestrator of that defense last year that led Michigan to its first ever win over Ohio State in the Jim Harbaugh tenure, its first Big Ten title, decided he doesn't want to work for Jim Harbaugh. He's now the defensive coordinator for John Harbaugh in Baltimore. Michigan under 9.5 wins. We're off to a spicy start here in hour number 2 of college football today. An ACC preview up next.
Pro Football Doc has found its new home right here with Sports Injury Central. And with that comes our expansion into other sports. Sports Injury Central will give you nonstop exclusive injury analysis from experienced team doctors from all 3 major sports. Doctors with resumes that include teams like the Chicago Bulls, the Texas Rangers, and the LA Chargers. So gain a fantasy, DFS, and betting edge right now for free at SICScore.com.
If you want to pick like a pro, you need to be in the know. The future of sports gaming is now, and we take you inside the lines, breaking down all the action and what it means for your bet slip. Turn down the game and tune into Sports Grid Radio. Other networks talk sports talk, but we walk the walk, right up to the window. Sports Grid Radio.
Listen free on the Sports Grid Radio app, iHeart, or TuneIn, or catch us on SiriusXM Sports Grid Channel 159.
You might be the next daily fantasy millionaire. No matter what you watch or where you play, learn from the world's best DFS players. Lineup building tools, expert projections, and advanced stats change the way you play the game. Dominate the competition. DailyRoto.com, the player's choice.
Sports Grid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
In the landscape of college sports, some things remain the same.
College football today.
Of Alabama in winning SEC championships.
It's the island of misfit toys.
Fantasy sports today.
You have to understand that.
Can they survive those first 4 games? They can go 2-2.
Pro football today.
This franchise, they are comical. Now, I'm not making light of the injuries. This is a brutal rash.
In-game live, all access.
You can take the money line.
And the sports book, if you shop around, you can get it at 133. But that's my best bet on the night, Joe. So that's the one I'm going big.
In-game live, prime time.
I'm a bit nostalgic. I'm going with an international, Jason Day and Sergio Garcia.
But boy, you want to give me 8.5 points with a desperate team facing elimination?
Get the winning edge. Only on Sports Grid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
Maurice Allen, 2015-2016 European Long Drive Tour champion, 2017 world number 1. Me personally, I keep my game face on me all the time. Especially coming out of the bunker, leaving the range, or even leaving the course. What's your story?
It's always good to see those Power 5 conferences and programs in action week 0 of the college football season. That starts today, and we break it down here on College Football Today. That includes 2 members of the ACC, one from the Coastal Division in North Carolina, the other from the Atlantic in Florida State. We'll get to the drama between North Carolina and Florida A&M in just a couple of minutes. But there's a member of this show here. I'm Ben Stevens. He's Kevin Walsh. It's not either of us. It's Joe Lisi, who is a big believer in the Florida State Seminoles entering 2022. FSU starts their season today, week 0, as a 43.5-point favorite against Duquesne. I did not know that Duquesne had a football team until just yesterday when this line became available. Lisi, are you willing to lay the 43.5? Are you going alternate spread, FSU minus 56 and a hook, covering by more than 8 touchdowns? What's the play for the Noles today?
I got CLV, baby, 42.5. I laid it at plus 100. Think about this.
The market loves you,
Florida
Lisi.
State in terms of their win total. I think this team could be 8-4 potentially. Let's look at last year. They lose week 1 in overtime to Notre Dame. They go toe-to-toe with Clemson, lose by 10, basically gave up a touchdown on the last play of the game, lose on the last play to Jacksonville State, an FCS opponent, and then they lose at the end of the year to Florida. If they pull 2 of those ball games out, they're basically a 7-win football team. I'll throw a statistic out for Florida State, though, guys. 23 games they have not thrown for over 300 yards. Just think about that in terms of the explosive offenses that we've seen in Tallahassee with Bobby Bowden, Jimbo Fisher, and now we haven't seen it with Willie Taggart, and more importantly now in terms of Mike Norvell. Jordan Travis is a quarterback that can develop. They're laying 42.5 with a potential big play game against LSU on top. I think they absolutely pace Duquesne today. I think they get that total by themselves. I think they win this matchup like 60-3 today. I'm laying it minus the 42.5. And I'll say this, they can potentially be a 10-win football team. They pounded the rock for $177 last year.
How
Kev,
about
just
that?
quickly here, that is the alternate
it.
spread, by the way, of laying 56.5 if they win 60-3. Go ahead.
Yeah, it certainly would get the job done. But here's what I wanted to ask you, Joe. One of the great things about a college football win total is at times it can feel like it all is going to boil down to one game. And FSU is one of these teams that's in action here, but they've got a huge game coming up next week against LSU. Short line. That's only getting shorter. Who knows? This thing could be pick, maybe, by the time we're breaking down FSU, LSU next week. I am curious for you. Do you feel as if that game is going to be the difference maker with that win total? If you like FSU for 7 wins, they have to be able to beat LSU next week?
No, I think they match up pretty well against some of the mediocre teams in terms of the ACC. I think they can win ball games against Miami, against Wake Forest. I think those are winnable games now on their schedule. I think, when you look at the LSU game, if they were able to pull that ball game out in New Orleans from a recruiting aspect, that could give a big boost to Mike Norvell and that team overall. He's on the hot seat. He doesn't get this team to at least 7-5 overall. They're gonna most likely fire him and maybe hire Deion Sanders in terms of taking over the reins from Jackson State. So again, there's a lot of pressure, just like Scott Frost. But again, this is a team that needs to find consistency. They can't take it status quo and go vanilla against Duquesne, especially since they have LSU on tap. I think they look to get consistency in the pass game. I think Jordan Travis could, break out today. I think the offensive line does a damage in terms of the front 7 of Duquesne. And again, they want to have momentum going into that road matchup in New Orleans. So I think they're live too. I think they're live in that ball game, but we'll see how it plays out.
Again, that Florida State win total is 6.5. The over has the juice right now for the Noles. They have the 3rd best price in the ACC's Atlantic Division at 12-1, only trailing Clemson and NC State. Yet the Tigers are a minus 230, substantial odds-on favorite to win the Atlantic this season. If the Noles are going to have success today against Duquesne, the rest of the 2022 season, it will be Jordan Travis, their quarterback, that has to lead the way for that offensive system under Mike Norvell. Again, you see it there at the bottom. The Seminoles win total is 6.5. It is the same win total for North Carolina. UNC in action today, hosting FAMU, Florida A&M, an HBCU, but we weren't sure if we would see this game today as of yesterday afternoon. There was some eligibility questions for Florida A&M. They are not going to be with about 20 of their consistent, reliable producers today in terms of that roster, and will only head to Chapel Hill with 8 active offensive linemen. In certain marketplaces, this line got up to 37 in a hook in favor of North Carolina. Kev, quickly here. It was a weird situation on a Friday afternoon, the eve of the college football season. What were you following with all of those discussions? The will they, won't they between UNC and Florida A&M?
This was fantastic. What a beautiful start to the college football season. So it comes out that FAMU may not make the trip. And then it's like, but it's going to be up to the players. It's like, the players are going to want to play. Whatever, somebody dealing with some sickness. No. Players are boycotting the game. First of all, 20 consistent, reliable producers. There's no way they have that, by the way, at FAMU. So you're already going to be up against it in that regard. But here is the deal. You want to talk about monstrous line movement. This was a number that was at 34.5. There was a 32 out there available. But when it was officially announced that they were going to play but not bring this, group of 20, if you will, offensive line, I mean, I might get a phone call. I got to check. I might have to go and dust off the shoulder pads today and try and help these boys out against the Tar Heels, honestly. But look at this number now. 44.5. Massive movement. And it's really beautiful, Joe, because I think two schools of thought are absolutely in line. This has gone too far, or odds makers can't set this high enough. They're already at a disadvantage. They're now going to be out there with full backups against a Power 5 school. 44.5 is the new line here for UNC and Florida A&M.
Yeah, well, I would suggest, not betting this game, but if you had to take it, I might jump on the FAMU side just because of the line movement and the fact that Matt Brown, the UNC head coach, is a good coach, right? He's got a feel-good heart. Is he going to want to paste 80 in terms of a lesser opponent with App State on deck? That would be a concern for me. Does he go vanilla and just say, we're going to beat them by 35 and we'll get out of Dodge and we'll move on to Boone to face the Appalachian State team next week? That would be my only concern, so I would take the points if I had to bet this ball game.
And not only has the market moved in favor of UNC with the spread today in their season opener against Florida A&M, the market has moved on the Tar Heels win total. Just earlier this week, it was 6.5. The over had the heavy juice at -160. An updated look here as the college football season starts today, it's 7.5. The under, a slight bit of juice now at -135. Wow. When you are handicapping the ACC, you must know how it leads to the path of a conference championship game. Now, Clemson is the favorite to win the ACC this year at -155. Clemson did not win the ACC championship last year. The Tigers weren't even in the ACC title game. It was Pittsburgh and Wake Forest, Pitt the eventual champs. But that snapped a 6-year streak for Clemson of ACC championship titles. So that makes sense to see Clemson at -155 as that odds-on favorite. But the Coastal Division is a very interesting one. We have not seen a repeat champion in the Coastal for the past decade. Last year, Pittsburgh won the Coastal. This year, maybe keep an eye on the likes of North Carolina at +600. Miami is the betting favorite right now at +125. Plenty more to come from around the college football landscape on this first Saturday of the college football season. Up next here on College Football Today. Stay with us right here live on the
The early line.
A helmet swinging incident. Oh my goodness, Myles Garrett Bates got banned from the NFL. Aaron Donald doing this. The NFL is going to have to step in here and, I don't know, give him 5 or 6 games. The NFL was very quick with the response. These are practices. We don't do anything with these practices. We don't sanction these practices. We're not going to go in there and say there's going to be violations from practices. That's up to the team itself.
only on Sports Grid. The morning after.
The Dodgers probably at the top, but who do you think are true contenders to maybe knock off LA?
I mean, either the Braves or the Mets absolutely could do it. The Braves, their lineup wears down pitching, and I've seen this over and over again where they're up against top guys, and they look bad for the first few innings, but they eventually get to them. They're just really good approaches at the plate.
The Sports Grid Network.
If you want to pick like a pro, you need to be in the know. The future of sports gaming is now, and we take you inside the lines, breaking down all the action and what it means for your bet slip. Turn down the game and tune into Sports Grid Radio. Other networks talk sports talk, but we walk the walk, right up to the window. Sports Grid Radio.
Listen free on the Sports Grid Radio app, iHeart, or TuneIn, or catch us on Sirius XM Sports Grid Channel 159.
Your heart's racing. The clock's running out. It all comes down to this. We're talking pregame. 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 Get locked in with Game Time Decisions. Your hosts, Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart, will get you ready for game time. Everything you need to know before a game goes off the board, with the bet slips to back it up. Make your best bet with live odds updates, late breaking news, up-to-the-minute injury reports, and real-time analytics from inside the sportsbooks. All the odds, all the action, from sports wagering insiders and industry pros like Donnie Rightside, Cam Lou, Cousin Sal, the Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow, and more. Get the winning edge every weekday afternoon from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, 3 to 4 Pacific. It's Game Time Decisions. Only on Sports Grid.
There is excitement all around here on college football today, not just for the start of the 2022 CFB campaign and the Week 0 slate on this Saturday, but for the week ahead. Yes, the full Saturday slate of college football really underway 1 week from today. But in the middle of the week, especially on a Thursday night, the opening day of the month of September, college football is going to look very, very good. Back here on CFT, alongside Kevin Walsh and Joe Lisi, I am Ben Stevens. And college football is about tradition. College football is about history. College football is about rivalries. And that's what we have once again, Joe Lisi, on Thursday night. The backyard brawl between the reigning ACC champs in Pittsburgh hosting their old rival in West Virginia. Lisi, this line has remained steady for most of these summer months. Less than a touchdown, but in favor of Pittsburgh, now at 6.5. How do you preview this matchup in the backyard brawl once again?
Well, as Kevin likes to say, this is juicy or tangy. I mean, this is what
tangy.
College football is all about, baby. This goes back to the days of Jake the Snake Kelchner and Amos Zeraway, Alex Van Pelt. I mean, Steve Slayton. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But this game is juicy from a week one perspective, guys. It goes down to the fact we have two new quarterbacks, JT Daniels for West Virginia, Keaton Slovers for Pittsburgh, two new schemes, but I still favor the physicality of the Pitt defense. They held opposing offenses to 89 rushing yards per game last year, 51 total sacks. On the flip side, you have a West Virginia offense that could not run the football consistently. They were held under 100 yards in 7 of the last 13 games. They were 0-7 in those games, guys, and lost those 7 games by an average margin of defeat of 12.6 points per game. I have more confidence in Narduzzi and Keaton Slovis than I do JT Daniels, who never stepped up in a big spot. I'm laying the 6.5 with the Pitt Panthers.
It's interesting to watch this number move, though, right? The 7, and I think some of this has to do with the way Pitt is going to look to play football this year.
Yep.
You know, you would think with everything that Pitt did last year, they would have been able to convince Mark Whipple to stick around and not leave for a team that won a single game in their conference in Nebraska. But I really think that Narduzzi was like, oh, thank goodness. We don't have to keep scoring 40 points a game anymore. I mean, can I just hand the ball off and try and win this game 7-0? And that's probably what I think is leading to people betting West Virginia. It is in a bizarre way a self-fulfilling prophecy where Pitt is going to, I think, leave themselves vulnerable all year long, guys, because of the way they want to play. The total continues to come down. By the time this game is kicking off, I think the 51.5s are gone. I think we're under the 50 marker by the time we get there. And that is all by design of what Pitt is looking for, which is why I think it's going to be tough, at least for me early season. And I'll throw it back to you, Joe, because I don't know if you disagree here. It's going to be tough for me to lay numbers with them just because I think they're almost going to intentionally be in close football games.
No, I agree to that point in terms of as we navigate through the ACC games and the conference games. Yeah, Narduzzi, I think, will run the football and rely on that front 7. But I think when you look at this matchup with Neil Brown, he's only 18-19 overall, and he has a tendency to outcoach himself in critical matchups. Go back to that ball game at home where he had basically a double-digit lead against Virginia Tech. Bad play calling, very conservative at critical times. And without the run game, I don't know if JT Daniels can carry this team. I'm just not sold on him in that capacity. So that's why I go with the more consistent offense and defensive lines in Pittsburgh. I agree with you, Kevin. Narduzzi does want to run the football much more this year than he did last year with Whipple. But in this spot, I think they have an advantage in the interior, and that's why I think they cover this number.
A matchup of former USC quarterbacks now facing off in the backyard brawl. JT Daniels began his career in Southern California, as did Keaton Slovis. Now, Slovis will start for Pittsburgh. And I do want to make one final point about what Kevin said, the Panthers covering numbers. Last year, one of the best teams in all of college football in doing just that. 10-4 against the spread, tied for the 5th best cover percentage in all of the country. And they had a Heisman finalist. They won a conference title. They were the 6th best scoring offense in the country, averaging nearly 39 points per game. And Pat Narduzzi still found a way to slander his former offensive coordinator, who now will call plays today in Dublin for Nebraska against Northwestern. As we look at how the Thursday night slate plays out, there's a great game in Stillwater. The Oklahoma State Cowboys, who enter the year ranked in the top 15 of the AP preseason poll. Oklahoma State, a member of that Big 12 Conference Championship game a season ago. And Lisi, as you know very well, Desmond Jackson and the Pokes, inches shy of not just a conference title, but potentially a spot in the college football playoff. Oklahoma State opens up their season hosting Central Michigan as nearly a 3-touchdown favorite. 20.5 is that point spread. What does Oklahoma State do for an encore this year, Lisi, in 2022?
I think they win the Big 12, and how about they crack the college football playoff? I think they're that good, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They held opposing offenses to 28% on third down conversions. 56 total sacks last year, Ben. That's 4 per game. They lose Jim Knowles, their defensive coordinator, but they get a benefit with Auburn, D.C., Derek Mason coming over. This team really relies on the running attack, the offensive line, but they can take the next step if Spencer Sanders could develop as a quarterback. He came on, especially in the bowl win against Notre Dame with 4 touchdown passes. He's a mobile kid, 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. I think he's poised for a breakout season. Now, let's not forget, Central Michigan back in 2016, 2015, knocked off Oklahoma State. That's going to be in the back of their minds on a last-second Hail Mary. I think they cover this number Thursday night against the Central Michigan and Jim McElwain.
Interesting spot as well because of that history. But just got to mention quickly, last year's leading rusher in college football for Central Michigan, right? Lou Nichols is going to be back out there. I just want to see what these props look like for these guys, right? Up against a defense like Oklahoma State that earned a lot of credit. Now we know Jim Knowles left with Ohio State. Those are the kind of things that I cannot wait to see early season, Ben, is how they're hanging these numbers. We're getting a taste of it today, and it's only going to carry on.
Oklahoma State, a top 5 total defense a season ago, only allowing their opponents just a click over 290 yards per game. Again, that was 4th best in the country. That will be an interesting dynamic to follow. The replacement of Jim Knowles with Derek Mason, a really good defensive coordinator as well. We have conference openers today in Dublin between Nebraska and Northwestern. A ton across CUSA as well, and even on Thursday night in the Big Ten Conference as well. Purdue and Penn State. In West Lafayette, the Boilermakers, who have a ton of optimism entering 2022, Kevin Walsh, a 3.5-point home underdog against the Nittany Lions. Purdue booked as a dog on Thursday night for their first game of the year. Will the Dogs be barking in Ross-Ade Stadium this Thursday evening?
So I think they've got a good chance. I'll let Lisi tell you what he thinks about that. But we're going to talk some win totals in our next segment. We're not going to talk Purdue there because we're going to talk Purdue here. I like them over the 7.5. And this game, despite being a home dog, is an example why. I think last year, one of the lessons I learned with kind of some of the win totals is kind of these slam dunk projections. Oh, they're going to win this game, this game, this game. There's nothing to worry about. I wanted to see what happens with a team like Purdue, who I think is going to be in the mix in every single game they play, probably outside of Wisconsin. Look at the schedule and look at the way that it lines up here. I think they are within, I would say, probably 7 of every single game on the slate. Do we really think the Hawkeyes are going to be laying double digits at Purdue? I don't think so, right? We see the Penn State number here right now. A road trip to Madison, certainly. But the other road games, Minnesota, Maryland, Indiana, Illinois, Syracuse. I think all of that is a lot more controllable. And I have a type, and it's really good offensive lines. I think Purdue has that, and that will be able to keep Aiden O'Connell upright. I know they lost David Bell. I know they lost Karlaftis. I'm not ignoring that, but I do think this team has some juice. What do you think about that, Lisi? And again, what do you think about their opener here against Penn State?
Yeah, I mean, they should be live, but I'm leaning to Penn State. Let's not forget Milton Wright, their big play wide receiver, was suspended. He's kicked off the team. So what does that offense look like? And Aiden O'Connell's an above-average quarterback, but I think when you look at this matchup with Penn State, the secondary led by Joey Porter Jr., to me is the breakdown and the strength of Penn State and why I give them the advantage. Again, without a consistent running game, that's been the MO for Jeff Brom and Purdue overall. They're put into consistent long third downs, and against better front sevens, that's where they struggle. They should be favored against Iowa because they beat them the last 2 seasons, Kevin. So we'll see how that plays out. Iowa cannot find the right recipe to knock off Purdue, but I think they're right in the area of maybe 7 or 8 wins. I think the books have it right, but up against Penn State, I think the physicality of Penn State's offensive line is the difference, and I like Clifford over O'Connell in that type of matchup laying the 3.5.
If there is positivity for Purdue, like Kevin Walsh feels, it all circulates around Aiden O'Connell, back orchestrating Jeff Brom's offense. They want to throw the football, and Aiden O'Connell and the Boilermakers certainly did that a season ago. The question remains in Happy Valley, as it has each of the last 4 years. What are we going to get from Sean Clifford? It's a question that seems simple, but has a variety of answers. Again, Penn State, a 3.5-point favorite on the road in West Lafayette on Thursday night in a Big Ten opener against the Boilermakers. Purdue, Nebraska, Minnesota, and Iowa all with 7.5 for their win totals in the Big Ten West. Win totals are our focus up next.
Maurice Allen, 2015, 2016 European Long Drive Tour champion, 2017 world number 1. Me personally, I keep my game face on me all the time. Especially coming out of the bunker, leaving the range, or even leaving the course. What's your story?
Pro Football Doc has found its new home right here with Sports Injury Central. And with that comes our expansion into other sports. Sports Injury Central will give you nonstop exclusive injury analysis from experienced team doctors from all 3 major sports. Doctors with resumes that include teams like the Chicago Bulls, the Texas Rangers, and the LA Chargers. So gain a fantasy, DFS, and betting edge right now for free at sicscore.com.
If you want to pick like a pro, you need to be in the know. The future of sports gaming is now, and we take you inside the lines, breaking down all the action and what it means for your bet slip. Turn down the game and tune into Sports Grid Radio. Other networks talk sports talk, but we walk the walk, right up to the window. Sports Grid Radio.
Listen free on the Sports Grid Radio app, iHeart, or TuneIn, or catch us on SiriusXM Sports Grid Channel 159.
Sports Grid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
In the landscape of college sports, some things remain the same.
College
And that is
football
the dominance
today.
of Alabama in winning SEC championships.
It's the island of misfit toys.
Fantasy sports
You
today.
have to understand that.
Can
Whereas
they survive those first 4 games? They can go 2-2.
Pro football today.
This franchise, they are comical. Now, I'm not making light of the injuries. This is a brutal rash.
In-game
you
live
can take
all
the points,
access.
you can take the money line, and
FanDuel Sportsbook, if you shop around, you can get it at 133. But that's my best bet on the night, Joe. So that's the one I'm going big.
In-game live, prime time.
I'm a bit nostalgic. I'm going with an international, Jason Day and Sergio Garcia.
But boy, you want to give me 8.5 points with a desperate team facing elimination?
Get the winning edge. Only on Sports Grid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
With actual college football games in the year 2022 about to start in just over an hour here for the Week 0 slate, we're coming down to the wire for you to get your futures bets in for the 2022 college football campaign. So here on College Football Today with myself, Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, and Joe Lisi, we give you our favorite win totals for 2022. And it should surprise nobody that when we call Joe Lisi the mastermind of the college football pigskin, he has the most of our favorite win totals entering this upcoming season. Lisi, run us through the board. Your favorite win totals and what it will mean for this upcoming season in CFB.
Yeah, well, I'll take the nickname Big Ten Joe. How about that? Because I love Minnesota in terms of the Big Ten West guys. They're a 6-1 shot. You look at defense under P.J. Fleck last year, held opposing offenses to 17.5 points per game. Statistically in the top 10 of rush defense and pass defense. They get 6 starters coming back this year on the defensive side of the ball with senior quarterback Tanner Morgan returning, and Mo Ibrahim, right? One of the best running backs, ripped off 100-plus yards against top-ranked Ohio State. He's back this year at 6-1 to win the Big Ten West, and more importantly, get over 7.5 wins. I'm rowing the boat with P.J. Fleck and Minnesota this year, guys. So that's one of my selections. I also like Florida State. Talked about it earlier. 6.5 is the win total. I think Jordan Travis and this team could be an 8-win football team. Very close ball games last year. The ability to run the football. Mike Norvell on the hot seat. I think Florida State could get over their 6.5 win total this year and potentially maybe even be a dark horse for a 10-win football team at 20-1. And how about Joey McGuire in Texas Tech? One of the most underrated college football uniforms in all of FBS. I love the black-on-black unis in throw in a little red on black as well. But this team is loaded, not just offensively, when you look at Tyler Shuck, the former Oregon quarterback, but defensively as well. They're young, they're athletic, they can run sideline to sideline. They held 8 of 13 opponents last year under 100 yards rushing. They were 6-2 in those ball games, won those 6 games by 12 points per game. 2 big play running backs in Roderick Thompson and Taj Brooks as well. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. I think they're an 8-win football team, and guess what? 50-1 to win the Big 12. I'll take that ticket as well, guys.
How about that? A little bit of juice down the board, which is what we want to see. Now, the whole Big Ten, Joe, Big Ten, put a pin in that, all right? We've got an hour away. We'll see who's who and who's what. But let me tell you something. Brian, put the whole Minnesota over on my card. That needs to get there because that was going to be my favorite Big Ten win total. I hesitated. I love this team. They have a group called the Encore 4, and it includes a center. That's pro wrestling. Put it on a T-shirt. I'll buy 2 of them. All right? 1 in 2X and then 1 in XL because eventually I'll lose weight and I want to wear it for many, 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 many years. I love what the Golden Gophers have. Soraka's back. Tanner Morgan's back. The whole team's the most important players are back, Ben. There is juice on that Minnesota group.
Tanner Morgan will be back in the Twin Cities for what feels like his 11th year in college. He might be 27 years old, but most importantly, Mo Ibrahim is healthy. He tore that Achilles in that season opener last year on a Thursday night against Ohio State after gashing that Buckeyes defense early and often. The 2020 Big Ten running back of the season, and for a Minnesota team that outside of the service academies, that being Navy, Army, and Air Force, who all run the triple option, nobody ran the football more often than Minnesota. 68% of their plays. The Big Ten credo. Run the damn ball, establish the run, and Sky U Ma. That's what they say up there in Minneapolis. I will bring up Lisi's point about the Big 12 championship odds as well. Texas Tech having some value in that market, as Lisi sees it, in the first year under Joey McGuire. And Lisi made this point in breaking down Thursday night's opener for Oklahoma State. The Cowboys, who were a member of that Big 12 championship game a season ago, just inches shy of winning the conference crown, tied for the 3rd best odds entering this year at plus 550 alongside Baylor, Oklahoma, the favorites, and Texas. Are they back? Well, they're only $1.50 behind Oklahoma for the 2nd best price at plus 350. We're talking Big Ten football. We're talking consistency. It's one of my favorite win totals as well. Iowa over 7.5. Somehow, some way, the Hawkeyes have the juice on that under. A Hawkeyes team that over the course of the past 2 seasons have won 16 of their 20 regular season games. Iowa has been a double-digit team each of the last 2 full seasons that we have seen for a full slate, not 2020, when they went 6-2 in their 8 games. They have gone over 7.5 wins in 5 consecutive full college football seasons, and they return the most returning production in the Big Ten West. Stop sleeping on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Stop overlooking Kirk Ferentz and company. And please join me in taking the over of their 7.5 win total. My favorite win total in the entire country, however, has one of the first bets I made this college football offseason. It was the Utah Utes, over 8.5. When I grabbed the over for Utah at 8.5 back in early May, it was minus 115 to the over. You will see the juice now at minus 170. I do not recommend paying that juice on a win total, but if anybody's going to make you look good with a minus 170 ticket, it's Kyle Whittingham and the Utah Utes in Salt Lake. Over this number in 6 of the last full seasons in college football. 9 regular season wins last year after starting 1-2. And not only will Utah go over 8.5 wins with relative ease, in my opinion, although their schedule is rather difficult, Utah is going to win the Pac-12. Plus 250 is their price. The 2nd best odds only behind Kevin's USC Trojans.
How about that? What do you think, Joe? You're on the Utes as well this year in the Pac-12?
I'm on them. I have a very difficult schedule, though, Kevin. If they win at Florida, they got to face San Diego State. They got to face in back-to-back games UCLA and USC. I think that's where it makes or breaks the bet when we look at this win total. But I'm with Ben. They can run the football, stop the run. Cam Rising took over. Tavion Thompson, one of the better running backs in FBS. That physicality of the offensive line, to me, is the difference. So I think they definitely get over their win total. Iowa, I'm pumping the brakes, Ben. They made it to the Big Ten championship game. There's love for Iowa and Iowa City, but they only pounded the rock for about 123 yards per game last year. That's what cost them critical wins down the stretch. Games like against Purdue where they couldn't run the football. They were playing from behind in terms of double digits. So I'm not buying the love for Kirk Ferentz this year. I think they're right in the area of about 7-5. I think it's right there, but I would lean to the under for the Iowa Hawkeyes this year.
And that is the holdup for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Their quarterback position, Spencer Petras or Alex Padilla. And the offense was a bottom 15 unit in pretty much every metric a season ago. And Kirk Ferentz's son, Brian Ferentz, somehow is still having a hand in the offensive play calling. But I think on the other side of the football, their defensive coordinator in Phil Parker is the best in the country and possibly one of the most underrated defensive coordinators the past decade in college football. Kevin, you went elsewhere. You didn't go Big Ten for your favorite win totals. You didn't go Pac-12. You're giving us an SEC team and an ACC team with a very small number. Start with the Yellow Jackets of Georgia Tech, if you wouldn't mind.
I think that's a good move. First we slander, then we eat. Georgia Tech has a win total of 3.5. Why? That makes no sense. They're awful, horrendous, with an impossible schedule. They play Clemson. Yeah, right. Ole Miss, not watching it. How about Georgia to end the season? Imagine they have 3 wins and they go into Georgia and that's what you're hoping and praying. You don't watch that game. You don't watch that game. Here is the thing to me. I look at the schedule. I see only 3 games where if you tell me you think they win, I don't laugh you out of the building. And that's Western Carolina, Duke, and Virginia. Everything else, I don't see them being even competitive in. So how are you getting over 3.5? But watch them go out there and lose to a Duke. I don't even think they're going to be favored, by the way, in that Virginia game. That -110 juice, by the way, look around. It's the best you can find on it. There's -135s, there's -140s. Look around. There's a -110 out there. Here's the deal on Arkansas. It's an over 7 in the SEC. This is the thing with me and the Razorbacks. It's something that I have to give a shout out to my dog, Donnie Rightside, who kind of really hammered into me when betting baseball totals. He would bet a team total over 2. And he goes, I'm not worried about if they can get to 3. I'm worried about if they can get to 2. And then I'm free rolling. I don't see any way Arkansas does not win 7 games. KJ Jefferson is back. I think that this is a very talented group here. I know there are parts of the schedule that are very difficult, but I'm less worried about those where the parts of the schedule where they should pick up wins. Take a look at the back 4, all right? Liberty, home, LSU, home, Ole Miss, home, and at Missouri. They're going to be favored in all of those games. What about the front 3? Home against Cincinnati. They were a touchdown favorite. It's come down a bit. Going to be favored by double digits against South Carolina and certainly against Missouri State. That's 7. Now, 7-0, that's far from a guarantee. But 6-1, I can trust that. I don't think this is going to be win 3 games, lose out, pick up the back 4. I think this team is going to be consistently in the mix. I think they're really, really talented, Joe. And again, I think my floor is 7. I think this team could win. Maybe we keep talking about those 10-plus win market. I think they could flirt with it. The schedule's tough, but maybe if everything break right. But again, to me, the floor is 7. I think we're free rolling on and over here.
Yeah, I agree with you with Arkansas. They knocked off Texas A&M as a 4.5-point underdog in Dallas. They went toe-to-toe with Bryce Young in Alabama as a 20.5-point underdog. Lost that matchup by 7 points, but more importantly, put up over 400 total yards on Nick Saban's defense. So I'm in agreement with you. I think they have the potential to definitely be an 8, 9, or even a 10-win football team. I'll say this about Jeff Collins, guys. He's 9-25 in terms of his tenure at Georgia Tech. That's overall 7-18 in the ACC. And more importantly, they can't win at home. They're 1-5 last year at home, lost those ball games by 19-plus points. It's a long progression going from the triple option to where Jeff Collins wants to get this team. I think he can get them potentially to maybe 4 wins, but they're up against it. So we'll see how this plays out in Atlanta. Good quarterback in Jeff Sims, though.
And as Kevin mentioned, Georgia Tech has 3 lines available right now to bet early on in this season, including their opener against Clemson. The Yellow Jackets are a 21.5-point underdog. One of their other non-conference games against Ole Miss out of the SEC, Georgia Tech is an 11.5-point home underdog. In that finale, the rivalry against Georgia, a 29.5-point underdog. You can correlate the markets that way. I did not see, Joe, though, on Kevin's card, Vanderbilt over 2.5. I thought we were doing our job here, getting Kevin to join the boys and ride the Commodores over 2.5. Lisi, what else do we got to do?
I don't know. I mean, how could you not be over 2.5, Kevin? You always look for winnable games. They play now. Hawaii, a winnable game. They're 9.5-point favorites. They face an FCS opponent in Elon. They face Wake Forest without Sam Hartman, and they face Northern Illinois. And if they don't get to 3 wins there, we still have Missouri at the end of the year with Brady Cook and one of the worst front sevens in the SEC, led by Elijah Drinkwitz, a coach on the hot seat. Come on.
All right, now can we make a deal, though? I mean, if I'm on Vanderbilt, I mean, does anybody want to get on a Kansas Jayhawks 2.5? I mean, folks, these home games in Lawrence are going to be a battle. I mean, look, at the end of the day, Tennessee Tech and Duke, they should be able to handle their job. We're just looking for one. Lance Leopold? Boys, I'm dying out here. Somebody, Penn, nothing?
Lawrence, the home of college football. Maybe we go back to the Week 0 slate to end hour number 2 of CFT.
The early line.
So Tom Brady coming back under center. He wants to make sure he stays sharp, play some of those starters against the Colts. It does make some sense where before you'd say to yourself, are they crazy? Why would you play anybody in the final preseason game? Keep in mind, you have that extra week because we used to have a 4th preseason game, which we don't anymore. So it does make some sense here. Keep these guys sharp. As I like to say, they're football players. They need to play football. They can't just sit around for 3 weeks and then tee it up on week 1.
Only on Sports Grid. The morning after.
And his favorite setting in all of college football, at least one of them, the Sun Bowl in El Paso, Texas.
You know how I feel about the Sun Bowl, Ben. If I'm a 12-0 coach and I win my championship game and they say you're going to the college football playoff, no. I'm going to the rolling hills of Texas, El Paso. I'm taking my team to the Sun Bowl. Absolutely love the atmosphere.
The Sports Grid Network. Fantasy Sports Today.
Carr, to be honest, for me, just is not a guy I ever end up targeting because I feel like he's a little bit too expensive for what he is. And, I prefer the guy we talked about earlier in the week, Trevor Lawrence. Probably even prefer Daniel Jones a little bit cheaper because those guys, Daniel Jones will run a little bit. Lawrence, I actually think, probably has an even better range of outcomes.
Only on Sports Grid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I'm not buying you dinner because I'm wrong. I'm buying you dinner because you're in town, and it's a nice thing for a friend to do to another friend. Just buy them dinner.
I have to pick up my phone and hold it right now because it's buzzing nonstop because you're talking.
Well, that's what I do, so that's kind of my thing. It's kind of hard to stop me from talking. Kind of hard to stop me from talking. People have tried for 45 years and it hasn't really worked yet. So,
the Bostonian versus the Book.
Pro Football Doc has found its new home right here with Sports Injury Central. And with that comes our expansion into other sports. Sports Injury Central will give you nonstop exclusive injury analysis from experienced team doctors from all 3 major sports. Doctors with resumes that include teams like the Chicago Bulls, the Texas Rangers, and the LA Chargers. So gain a fantasy, DFS, and betting edge right now for free at SICScore.com.
Just over 1 hour away from the start of the 2022 college football season. The first game of 2022, Western Kentucky in Austin Peay. Let's quickly run through some of the week 0 slate here as we round out hour number 2 of college football today. Western Kentucky, a 31.5-point home favorite against Austin Peay. UNLV, a 22.5-point home favorite against Idaho State. And then one of the shortest spreads of the entire week 0 slate happens at one of the most beautiful settings in all of college football. In El Paso, Texas, the Sun Bowl, which should be a sold-out crowd tonight for UTEP's Conference USA and season opener against North Texas. But Joe Lisi, it's UTEP as a 1.5-point home underdog. Do you not think home field advantage plays a part tonight in the Sun Bowl between the Mean Green and the Miners?
I think the more complete team is North Texas, but I'll say this, the landscape in the Sun Bowl is unprecedented and the best stadium, in my opinion, in terms of college football, the rolling hills of Texas, El Paso. But I'm on the total, guys. I think this is one of the higher scoring games later tonight, 54.5. You have two good quarterbacks, Gavin Hardison for UTEP and Dana Dimbo. And more importantly, when you look at North Texas, Austin On is 29 years old. He played 6 years of professional baseball. Both quarterbacks can sling it. I'm going over. I think North Texas has the more complete offense and defensive lines in this ballgame.
Look, speaking of Jews, people are going to look at the very first game of the day. It's Western Kentucky, Austin Peay. I believe this was a 64 last night. It's a 70 right now. Bailey Zappi's gone. So's the offensive coordinator, okay? In Kitley there. Is this going to be the team that has the juice and tempo to cash you a 70? I'm not so sure. One game that I think will have some juice, UNLV, Idaho State. That breakdown comes in, again, about an hour. Make sure you're sticking right here with us. It's college. Don't you shake your head, Joe Lisi. It is college football today. One more hour to go right here, week 0, Saturday.